and then I'm going to just give a few notes to the producer so she can get it all set up. Hi, Lissa. This is Jana, and I am here with Marc Van Herr, and we are going to get his podcast episode started. And I think you have everything in the show notes. And so we're just going to get started. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I'm here with Marc Van Herr. Marc Van Herr is an executive director of the Beautiful Mind Project and the founder of Urgent Care for Mental Health. Blends his personal experiences with his mental health system with an outside-of-the-box innovative approach to change the way you treat mental health. My goodness, we definitely need some outside-of-the-box thinking for that. Marc was a 2019 Changemaker honoree and was recently chosen as one of the 7 fellows in Minnesota with an initiative foundation for the Urgent Care for Mental Health program. You'll find his personal story compelling and very authentically moving. And we were just having this little chat before you came on. And I think right now that this episode is so pertinent with everything going on in the world. So Marc, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
One of the things we do on the show is we share a story of hope. My whole platform for starting the podcast was to put that ripple effect of change out into the world. And I knew my story only hit a little teeny percentage, but if I could bring on these incredible people like yourself to share their stories, that ripple effect is just going to get bigger and bigger and start creating massive change. And so can you share your story of hope with us today?
I'd love to. My story started 18 years ago. When a 4-year-old girl saved my life. I had written a suicide note and left it on the kitchen counter for my wife. And I grabbed a knife out of the butcher block and my car keys, and I went out to my truck and I drove to a deserted parking lot where I planned to take my life. And in those moments, right before I put the knife to my wrist, I started gathering my thoughts and images of my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, came crashing into my mind of what her life would be like without me in it, and how what I was about to do might impact her. And somehow I found the courage and strength to put the knife back down, and I drove home. And I was hoping that I would beat my wife home, because if she saw the note before I got there, I can only imagine the impact it would have had on her. And as I pulled in, I saw her vehicle, and I knew that I'd have some explaining to do. And I came in, and she was panicked, justifiably so. And I was able to talk my way out of a 72-hour hospital stay. And in fact, I've never been in the hospital for that. And I would take another 2 years before I would be diagnosed and properly treated for bipolar disorder. And I've really lived 2 lives. I've lived 20 years or so undiagnosed, unmedicated, without any kind of a therapy or talk therapy sessions to help me through things. And the last 16 years medicated and normal, if you will. And one of the things that kind of happened after I was diagnosed is I didn't share that with anybody. It was a decade. And if you didn't live under my roof, you didn't know that I had bipolar disorder. I didn't want it to affect my friendships, my career. I didn't know how my clients would react to it. And so I kept it to myself. And then 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And I shared that the next day on Facebook and social media because I wanted to get ideas about, recipes and diet and exercise and nutrition and all of those great things. And the response was overwhelming. And I thought to myself, why did I share one diagnosis after 24 hours, but it had been more than a decade and I hadn't shared the other? When, if you think about it, they're really the same thing at their core. Now, I know a lot of folks are like, well, what do you mean? Bipolar disorder and diabetes are the same thing? Well, yeah, they're both chemical imbalances in the body that require medication for it to operate and function properly. They just affect different parts of your body. They're the same thing. And so that brought me closer to doing something, but I wasn't quite all the way there yet. And by this time, I had added a second daughter. And I always would tell my girls, don't worry about what other people think of you or say to you, because the moment you start living your life for somebody else, it's no longer your life. And I realized that I was just a huge hypocrite, that I wasn't doing that in my own personal lives. I was not being honest and truthful with my friends and with my coworkers. And so, for lack of a better turn of phrase, I came out about my mental health on September 3rd of 2015. And it was singularly the scariest thing I've ever done, but also the absolute most liberating experience ever. I can't even tell you what an enormous weight was lifted off my shoulders to be able to just realize that people will accept me no matter what. And so that was the impetus for starting the Beautiful Mind Project. And I started as kind of like a part-time hobby, right? We're not really sure where we're going with this, but I know I want to do something. Did a lot of educating, a lot of speaking, those types of things. And gradually ideas started to come. And we just added more and more things. And I reached a point this last October where I had to make a decision. Either we're going to stay this nice, cute little central Minnesota nonprofit, but we're going to go for it. We're going to make this a much, much bigger deal than it currently is. And so I left my job. I had no idea where my next, I had some savings and stuff built up, but I put all my chips in the middle of the table and said, I'm going to go for it. And I did, and it's turned out better than I could have hoped for to this point. And we're really moving forward and making some big changes in our community, and we plan to do this on a state and national level as well. So that's part of the reason why I reached out to you, is because I know you have a nice broad audience that can help me reach a variety of different folks that want to make changes in their community as well.
Well, not only do I have a nice broad audience, but this really is something very personal and touching to me, that I meet people all the time because they think I'm a mindset coach, that I work with people with mental disorders or any kind of mental health. I do not. And I want people to understand that that is an illness. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we don't talk about it because there's shame attached to it. There's shame if we're not mentally stable. And I'm using quotation marks for those of you who are listening. Oh, she's crazy, right? Isn't that the term we use when we're upset with someone? Oh, she's crazy, or she went batshit, whatever. It's the stigma that's attached to it. And it's no different than you saying I have diabetes, or me saying that I have a blood clotting disorder. It's no different. It's something that they can diagnose, that they can treat. Sometimes it's with the mind, it's definitely a balancing game. So it may take a few tries, but if you stick in there, you will find a solution for it. And so I'm always telling mindset coaches, stay out of that field, because that is not your field, and you can do more harm than good. Because immediately, wouldn't you say, why is this not working for me? I'm doing every day. I'm trying to be positive. I know I have a lot to be thankful for, but I still don't feel good. There's something wrong. So we could do more harm.
Right. And that's a really fantastic point, Jana, is that, there isn't a one size fits all when it comes to mental illness. It's not just, oh, well, just eat healthy and exercise. And, it's a mindset. Well, for some people that can work, and that's awesome if it does for you. But for some other folks, they actually need medication. I actually have a chemical deficiency in my body that the medicine I take replenishes and replaces it. So it like I said, is no different than diabetes. I don't produce enough insulin. I need to take some. So it's the same thing. So yeah, I totally agree with you that, and the other piece of that too is that folks who have a mental illness, it takes effort to be normal. Oftentimes there's days it takes everything you have just to take a shower and get dressed and go have breakfast. That could be your whole day, for some folks. So it's not just simple as just do it. Unfortunately, I wish it were, but unfortunately it's not.
I think we're going to start a hashtag. You probably already have them for Beautiful Mind Project, because like the hashtag me too, if you're afraid to verbalize it, maybe your first step is just hashtagging and connecting with those other people who are getting out there in the world. Because there's no shame in that game, honestly speaking, that I need help. I do not feel right, because you shouldn't live one moment on this earth without living the most beautiful life you can. And I'm so grateful that that memory hit you when it did, of your 4-year-old daughter, and you saw that maybe I could make it one more day or one more week. And it forced you to have that conversation with your wife when you got home, or you would have probably still held that in if you beat her there and got that note before her.
100% right.
That is beautiful. And I got to tell you, the faces we see on people are not really always what they're feeling. So when you see a little smiley face for those ads, that's so true. 2 months ago, we had a family member who committed suicide. And here's the thing, she passed, but she had this lucid moment in between when they found her, brought her back, got her to the hospital, and she passed. And the doctor asked her, was it by accident? She was very young. She was 24, I think. She was very young. And he asked her, was this an accident? She says, nope, I've been planning it for months. I'm just miserable. I'm unhappy. And the only thing I'm sorry about is I didn't die. And she was able to tell her family, I love you. It wasn't you. You didn't trigger me. There was nothing like that. But she passed within a couple of hours out of the blue. Like, we thought she was fine. And what I noticed the most was I saw pictures of her because it was the day after Mother's Day. And she was at a Mother's Day party and she was with her dog and beaming and smiling. And I'm like, how did we miss that? Yeah. How do we miss it? She's been planning this for months. And that she was that unhappy. How did we not see that? So people that have that hide it very well. So if you're not open to receiving what they have to say, you might miss that clue.
No, that's a great point. And that's very true. I mean, you'll see pictures of, rock stars or actors, and you're like, oh, this is just 2 days before. They look so, happy and in this photo with their family. You get really good at faking it, because you have to, because you need to function in society. So that's a mask you put on, to adjust to that situation, unfortunately. And I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, but I can say it's the case for me. And I've talked to a ton of people who've attempted to take their life, and it holds true with a great many of them, is that it's not so much that, you want to die. It's that you just want the pain to end. You just don't want to feel it anymore. And it's the only way you can make it stop. And so we need to keep that in mind, that it's not something that is, death isn't the goal necessarily. I mean, it is, but it's not. I don't know if I'm making sense on that point or not, but they just don't want to feel that way any longer.
I totally, and they're probably feeling like they don't have an answer for it. It's been a really long time. And again, I know many, many people who have gone the route of medications, and everyone knows I'm holistic, but there's a reason that we have these incredible medications. If I'm sick and I need an antibiotic, I promise you that's what I'm going to do. What I do is try to stay healthy so I don't need it. But in this case, you did nothing wrong. Yeah. Your body's just created that way. And so you're going to need a little help. And it is a process to figure out. So they have to get right doses because nobody is the same. They have to get the right medication. And if you can just hang in there for a little while, they will find that sweet spot for you that you can survive, that you can not live with that.
Well, I know in my case, I was misdiagnosed for a while as just being depressed, and they weren't catching the mania side of the equation. And so it wasn't totally helping the situation with everything that they were trying to do and the way they were treating me. And so, and you're exactly right with medication. It's been 16 years. I think I'm on my third or fourth different type of medicinal combinations, because after a while they sort of lose their efficacy, and you need to kind of mix up. And just going through that process is really difficult, because it's scary too, because you go like, oh, I don't know how this is going to work. Am I going to go through a period of transition here that, I'm not feeling it the way I should be feeling? And, how do I handle that? What should I be on the lookout for? Those types of things. So it's an ongoing process. And for some folks, their mental illness is episodic, and, they might be depressed for, they might have postpartum depression, or they might, have an episode of depression that lasts a year or two. And for others, it's a lifelong battle that they're going to have to face, as is the case with mine.
I know with medication, one of the funniest things I hear, and I hear this all the time, guys, everyone who knows me knows my husband's a veterinarian, and he gets this all the time when it comes to especially cardiac care for animals. But they'll get on a medication and they'll start feeling better, and they don't need it anymore. And then they have this whole drop, like this big meltdown, and they don't understand what's going on. And my husband sees all the time, people will come in, their dog has a cardiac issue, gives them cardiac medicine, and then they'll come in cardiac arrest. And he's like, what's going on? Are you giving them the medication? No, I haven't gotten it in months. They were doing better. Why do you think they were doing better? We were treating the issue.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring that up because that so often is the case with folks who have a mental health issue. Is they stop taking their meds, because hey, I was feeling better. Well, yeah, no kidding, because you were taking a treatment that was working. That's why you were feeling better. You need to continue. And so, but I totally get why people don't. If you talk to people who know me, they'll tell you, like, Mark he's got a huge personality. He's loud, he's funny, he's creative. And I tell him, look, I feel when I take my meds, which I've never miss a day, I feel rounded off. I don't feel 100% myself all the time. I don't feel as creative as I know I could be. And people look at me kind of cockeyed, like, are you serious? Come on. There's no way you could be any more amped up on anything. But somehow that's how I feel. The meds are. So I'd love to be off of my meds, but I know better. And I know that if I stopped taking my meds, it wouldn't take long before I would find myself in a truck in a parking lot somewhere.
Yeah. So what are some of the tips that you would talk to somebody? First of all, there's no shame. Like I said, there is no shame in having a challenge in your life. There's just not. And I know that one of the first steps is tell somebody, just put it out there so that they start holding you accountable. They could start seeing changes in your life and say, do you need help? Can I help? But if they don't know, like your wife, she probably would have had all this regret. Like, if he'd have just told me, maybe we could have fixed this, and they just don't know. So what are some of the steps that someone could do if they're really struggling right now?
The first would be, make sure you're safe. That would be the first and foremost. Make sure you're safe. If you have any thoughts of self-harm, you need to reach out to a hotline of some sort, a close friend, a family member, whoever it is. Just speak up. That being said, one of the things I always recommend to folks, for long-term success, is finding that anchor in your life. And for me, it's my wife. And she knows me best. She knows when, I'm not myself. She knows when something's wrong, and she can recognize that and ask me and check in with me. And so you need those people, and that can be anybody. That can be a friend, a parent, whomever. So that would be one of the things. The other thing I would tell folks is don't be afraid to speak up. I know it's hard. But there are a ton of support groups. If you're uneasy about where to do that, there's a lot of small groups you can go to where you can find a safe place to share how you're feeling. So there's a lot of opportunities there to get some help. But by all means, keeping it inside is not the way to go. And I know it's easy for me to say that now, and even there are times when I do struggle. My life isn't all peaches and cream, and I have periods of time where I trudge through the day, and I keep things inside, and I have to remind myself that I need to reach out, because whenever I do, I always feel better.
You were mixed diagnosed. So another thing is take some power back. And if you feel like your doctor isn't understanding, or they're poo-pooing you, or just writing you a quick script, go see another doctor. Like, get out there and get the right, because they're doing the best they can with the time they're allotted. And with all the information that they have, like, you might have to see 1 or 2 or 3 doctors. It took me multiple doctors to save my life. And it was because I refused to stand for something intuitively I knew was wrong. And I wanted an answer. And when they weren't giving me the answer, I just kept seeing more doctors. And it worked. Here I am today. So I would suggest you definitely reach out, talk to someone in healthcare. Involve your spouse or your family members or a friend that you trust, that you feel like they're not going to judge you no matter what. And if someone's judging you for this, you need to find someone else. Yeah. Because there should be absolutely no judgment. When someone tells you, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, something's wrong, there should be no judgment with that, no matter where that pain is arising from. If someone came to you and said, I'm having a heart attack, are you going to laugh and walk away? No, you're going to get them help.
Yeah. I would also say, kind of piggybacking on what you were saying about, go to multiple doctors if you're not feeling like you're getting the answers you need, is the same holds true for your therapist. You might, find just the right therapist right out of the gate, but oftentimes you need to go through, 2 or 3, you can't say, well, I went and saw a therapist and I didn't really like him, so I didn't go back ever again. Well, you're sharing a lot of deeply personal things and you need to connect with them. That's like saying, well, I dated this one person in high school and we didn't hit it off, so I'm never getting married. Well, that doesn't make any sense. You need to keep trying until you find that right person who's going to be able to help you, with all of those things that are going on in your life, whether it's, to be a sounding board for you, to provide you direction, to give you tools to put in your toolbox to use when you are struggling. So don't be afraid. It's not a failure on your part. It's just sometimes things don't connect, and that's okay with that. And I would also, one more thing, if I may, beyond that, is, you may notice in your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed, folks might post some, they might be doing some vague booking about, oh, it's just such a tough day. You know what? That may be that person's way of saying, I'm having a hard day. Can someone please reach out to me? And it takes 2 seconds to shoot them a quick message or give them a text or a call to say, hey, is everything okay? What can I do to help? And they're not looking to you to solve the problem. They're just looking to somebody to check in and let them know that it's okay.
By the way, it isn't our job to solve the problem, for sure. Like this is their journey and they need to be responsible for seeking that help, taking the advice and moving on. So I love that you said that. And I love that you said, take notice. That's so important. Sometimes I just want to know, I'm here if you need me. I'll listen, no judgment, I'm just here. So whatever you need, just give me a call. And that is perfect, because I see that all the time on social media. I'll see someone post their dog died and they're so sad. And someone puts like a thumbs up because they didn't even read it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. But it's so fast in social media. So it's not personal. It's just people are very fast and they want you to know, hey, I love you. There's your thumbs up. Wait, her dog died.
Oh my! Yeah, and I've seen that too, and I probably have done it.
I'm sure I have.
Oh yeah. So
again, no judgment.
No, none whatsoever. But yeah, and again, it really just comes down to being available and having access to people. And I've got I'd say probably 20 people that I know have mental illness, and I kind of just put them on a calendar about every couple of weeks and say, hey, just want to stick my head in, see how you're doing. If there's anything going on you want to talk about, And some are like, hey, everything's great. Thanks for checking. And that's it. And others just kind of, everything, this is what's going on. And, thanks for asking, kind of the thing. And so there's a lot of ways you can do it, but it just really comes down to caring about other human beings, really.
I think so too, 100%. What do you do with your foundation?
Well, the Beautiful Mind Project, we do a lot of education. So I give a lot of presentations to chambers of commerce, schools, civic groups, et cetera, about mental health, helping people understand what is mental health versus what is mental illness. A lot of people interchange those two terms. They don't understand that they're not the same thing. So we talk about things like that, and how to incorporate it into their business model, why it makes sense to, those types of things. We've got a few other programs, but the program that really is our star is our urgent care for mental health program. We offer same or next day appointments at a variety of locations. And it's the way we have it set up, we are the Uber of mental health. And so if you think about Uber, they don't own one vehicle. They don't give one person a ride. They match people who need a ride with people who can provide a ride. And they own the platform and the marketing and the branding and whatnot. And that's what we do. We work with small providers. They're generally 1 to half a dozen therapists in a location. And these are folks, they're credentialed, they're in the business, they've been in the business, but they don't have the huge marketing budgets that the big organizations do. They don't have the energy or the expertise to brand and market themselves. And so they're making a living, but they always end up with dead appointments at the end of the week. They may have room for 30 appointments a week, and they're maybe doing 22. So they have 8 appointments that just go to waste. And like in our community, there's probably over 100 to 125 appointments a week that get wasted. And a part of the reason for that is if somebody Googles, therapists in my community, insert your community name there, it'll pull up, a list of therapists. And it's always going to pull up the big names, the bigger providers, the hospitals and the big mental health clinics. But it doesn't, pull up, Jane Doe's counseling services until you get down to the bottom of page 1 or deep into page 2. And then, let's be honest, if you need help, you're not going to page 2 of Google to find it, right? You're going to call one of the top couple, which everybody does. And of course, those are backed up 4 to 6 to 8 weeks or longer in some cases. So all we do is we find those folks who have openings available every week, and then we market and brand the service and have the clients who need help right away, need that access to be able to get to those providers. And it's the only system like it in the country that I've been able to find. And one of the beautiful things about it is that it works in almost any size community. You don't need to be in a big metropolitan area for this program to work. You can do it in a community of 15,000, so it provides access to literally everybody in your state because of that. So it's a really unique program. We're really excited about it.
So how do you deal around insurance issues? Like if they're, my insurance doesn't cover going through this and I still have to wait, but it's urgent. And how do you deal with that?
Well, basically the way that it works is we don't tell the providers how to do their business. We don't tell them what insurance companies to take, how to treat. You do you. We're going to provide you with the referrals of clients who need to be seen right away. And so that's what we do. And we've got a system that helps filter out some of those questions and whatnot. We're 100% HIPAA compliant with that as well. So we're all okay there too. So it's one of those, we can't always help everybody because of, some people just don't have a provider that's close to them or a provider that takes the insurance they might have. But, we're efforting that. We've only been around for about 1.5 years now. So hopefully one day we'll crack that egg, but we cracked the biggest egg, which is how to make this even possible in the first place.
Well, you can definitely crack that egg by doing it across Zoom like we're doing right now. You don't have to be in the same state.
And we do, some of our providers do teletherapy as well. So that is a possibility. And then where I'm from in Minnesota, for example, in the northern third of the state, it's a lot more sparsely populated. And so there's a modern sized city up there called International Falls, and the psychiatrist up there retired. The next closest psychiatrist is 100 miles away. So you can just see there's nobody around for a 2.5-hour ride to provide that level of medical treatment to those communities up there. So, but again, this can work anywhere in the country in any size community.
Well, I'd like to introduce you to the military because they need a service like this for sure.
Yeah, and we've talked with a variety of different folks about who love the idea, and of course, they are looking at it oftentimes, more times than not, from the financial perspective. That for me, that's a huge issue with medicine today, is that so many of the bigger companies, it's all about the business side of things. And I get it. Look, hey, I understand that, right? I'm not taking that away from you. But for me, I'm not a fan of that. I want to make a living and, whatnot. But, when you look in my state, for example, the top 100 nonprofits in the state, like the top 25, 30 of them are all medical, hospitals and whatnot. So what does that tell you? The Mayo Clinic's got $1 billion in assets. It's a hell of a nonprofit.
Yeah, that is. 100% I agree with that. But coming from somebody who has a husband who runs an animal hospital, I can tell you he got into it because he loves animals, probably more than he does people.
Yes.
And when he has to say, I can't do that, it breaks his heart. But again, he has to pay for an entire hospital and 40
Yep.
employees and all the updated equipment, and it costs to run it. So I know he does the best he can, but I know that there's people who, it doesn't matter what he does, they walk away thinking he's in it for the money. I can promise you, he likes that animal of yours more than he does you.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's just, and again, I totally get that. I wasn't
No,
trying
I
to
get
dig at
that.
that, but like for us, in Minnesota where we're at, it's $125 a month for a provider to be a part of our network. That's it, and that's super reasonable.
Which is very reasonable.
That's what, one appointment and you're even.
I get charged more than that for an app to run something on my computer, right?
Right, you
And
might spend that much in Facebook ads, right? So
yeah,
I mean, we try to keep it as affordable for the providers because we want to have as many providers as possible, because we want people to have as much access as possible, because the person that's running this lives this. And I know how important access is, and getting the help you need when you need it, not 6 weeks from now, but now, and that your life can literally depend upon it. And part of what drove this for me was, suicide hotlines are great and they have their place, but they don't work every time. And how I know they don't work every time is because more than 40,000 people die every year from suicide. And so we need to swim upstream. We need to start cutting these problems off before they escalate to that even. And so that's where urgent care is. Mental health is the only kind of medicine where it's completely reactive. Like we wait until you're on the cusp, literally on the cusp of harming yourself before we decide to get in the game. That would be like waiting until you have stage 4 breast cancer before you go, all right, well, let's start treatment now. Well, no, you do mammograms and you do prostate exams. And, you try to get ahead of those things to catch them early before they become a problem. We need to be doing that same thing in mental health.
I agree 100%. I've known people who said they've called in and they're like, do you have thoughts of hurting yourself now? No? Well, then we'll see you in 3 months. And a lot could change in 3 months, right? So I agree 100%. How can people find you?
Well, we have the Beautiful Mind Project on Facebook, thebeautifulmindproject.org. And then Project Urgent Care is where they can find us on Facebook, and our website. Our website is projecturgentcare.com, and it's really geared towards making an appointment. It's basically, that's all it does, is the website. It's just like, I need help. Let me put in my name, my phone number, the city I want to go see somebody in, and click submit. And within 4 hours, therapists will contact them to make arrangements. And it is that simple. So, and if anybody wants to talk more about how they can bring an urgent care to their city, just Marc with a C at projecturgentcare.com.
Well, all of those links are going to be listed in the show notes, so definitely connect. But I would empower you guys to hashtag that the Beautiful Mind Project. Even put your emotion on there. If you don't want to use your face, like a picture of your face being angry or sad, do like an emoji, or put a thumbs up today, or it's a thumbs down today, or even just type in the word, like, let people know this is how I am today. This is what I'm doing, and reach out and connect with them. But I want you guys to all know that right now, no matter where you are in your life's journey, you deserve happiness. You deserve to be loved exactly where you're at right now. It doesn't matter. You just deserve that. You deserve a lifetime of happiness. And this whole show was built to change the world and put out a ripple effect into it and create, a healthier, more kind place. And this is exactly why we do the show, is because of people like you, Marc. So thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Absolutely. Can I finish how the story started?
Yes.
Can I finish the story? It only takes a minute. But
no, yes, we have time.
Here's how, well, 2 things, I guess. First of all, in your message of hope and whatnot, look, I'm doing all of this. I'm creating all of these changes and new systems and thinking outside the box. I don't have a college degree. I didn't finish college because I couldn't stay focused because of my mental illness. I'm not an expert in this arena. I just know what it's like to have to wade through all the bureaucracy of it. But that doesn't have to stop you from really making an impact in certain areas, right? If you're passionate and you believe enough about it. But to finish the story that we started the show with, that 4-year-old girl, I got to see her grow up. And I got to teach her how to drive and take her to her first job and be a shoulder to cry on when a boy broke her heart and cheer her on when she graduated. And right now she's 22, and she's a charge nurse in the operating room at the Mayo Clinic. And she's saving lives to this day. And I couldn't be more proud, to see her.
That's a beautiful story. And you have another child too
And I
that
have
wouldn't be here.
yes, as well, who has equal talents, but in a whole nother arena.
But she wouldn't even have been here. Like she wouldn't have existed.
Yes, absolutely. That's 100% true. She would not even be here today. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share my story with you and with your listeners. And I hope that even if it's just one person, that they hear this and they can connect to that message of hope, and that anybody can make a difference if you just put your mind to it and put yourself out there.
100%. I love your story. And I love that you are strong enough to do that, to get out there and share it now. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.